All right. The thing I like about Craig is he announces that he's recording, which is really good.
I know. The thing is, like, other bots just kind of say nothing, and you're lost in the dark. Okay, are we recording or not?
Are we? Is it going? Is this thing on? Yeah.
It's this thing
Anyways,
on.
welcome to Geekin This. I am Peter, of course, joined with my geek brother-in-law, Mr. Tony. Sir, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Awesome, awesome. We had a good, fairly geeky Halloween, I would say, and Halloween episodes. We were talking about some spooky stuff. I have another spooky stuff that I'm going to talk about. So we're going to do a virgin ears for this one, sort of an impromptu. Mostly my backlog's filling up, so I'm trying to get through the Orville. When I'm finished with the Orville, I'm going to get through Titans, and then we'll be all caught up and able to talk about those things. And I'm also reading X-Men comics, the Powers of X and House of X, which is fantastic, which we haven't done a comic book podcast since we did Spider-Verse, so I would like to do that again, because
it's been a while.
Comic books are freaking awesome. And if you have like me and Tony are calling this like a sort of comic book reading club, because that's just sort of an awesome idea to get together and read comics together.
Well, you know what the thing is, you mentioned that you have a heavy backlog, as do I, and it's crazy because in the comics world, things keep coming up that I really want to read. Like, there's so much stuff out there that I keep hearing about, but I haven't had a chance to actually digest. For example, the thing I really want to see is the Batman Who Laughs. I want to read that storyline.
And I also want
great. I know, and then there's also, I guess, the Spider-Man by J.J. Abrams. Like,
yes,
I want to do that one. So there's just so much stuff out there. It's hard to catch up.
Speaking of Batman, there's freaking Batman, the Samurai Batman. Most of these are in movie format as well, which is pretty cool to get into. There's also, God, what was the other one called? It was kind of like Sherlock Holmes-y Batman. It was set back in the day.
I saw
Batman
that one.
Noir. And then there's crossovers. I want to read Batman and the Ninja Turtles, which sounds pretty freaking awesome.
You know, you touched on two things. The Samurai Batman, I would rather read the comic, and that's only because I did give it a touch on the movie version, and it didn't really like hit me. It didn't satisfy me. Now the Batman, God, I forget like what the name of it is, but it's like Gaslamp, I think is
Sherlock Holmes. Yes,
Gaslight.
Exactly.
I did see that movie, and that was actually pretty solid. So sometimes, you know, although I would say DC animated movies are probably like a better of the two between that and the Marvel animated movies.
Yes.
I feel like at least a couple of the recent ones are hit or miss, and that's shocking because usually they're really consistently good.
Of course. I think the DC animated are really truthful to the comics, and what's ridiculous is we need that in the cinematic universe for DC.
Yeah, it's so weird how that happens. Like, the opposite is the converse is true for Marvel, whereas their animated ones kind of suck. Their live action ones are like the best in the business, and it's just what? How in the world is it so inconsistent?
Yeah, totally. Damn, I'm sensing a comic book podcast coming up soon then, because this is some good stuff. So we'll get into Mr. Tony's Virgin Ears, which I may or may not heard of.
You certainly have heard of it. Absolutely. And actually, you just mentioned it moments ago.
Oh, did I? Oh, great. What was it?
It's Titans, season 2, baby.
Oh, you're on season 2. Okay, so I have not finished season 1.
Hence my well, before we started recording, I was talking to Peter about how I didn't know how much to share about this because I know that he hasn't finished the first season, but at the same time, this show, it just gets me so excited. It's one of those few shows where I literally look forward to watching every single day because the way they do it is they release them one at a time per week. And I just waited like 10 weeks or whatever, so it's been on for some time now. And so like I do that because I have the opportunity to kind of binge it one day at a time. And it's just, I'm at work, I'm sitting there on my computer, hating life, and then I'm just like, well, at least I have Titans to look forward to at the end of the day. It's so rare for me to have a show that just captures me entirely.
That's awesome.
So this season, what we have is basically it's a direct tie-in to the last episode of the first season, and that's really important because so the last episode of the first season I thought was brilliant, and that's a shocker because a lot of people didn't like it. Even the true fans didn't like it, and there's
Oh,
a reason for
interesting.
that. They kind of do like a little cop out without saying too much about it, but I actually thought that worked really well, especially because the way that they tie it in with the premiere of the season two is excellent. It was like necessary for that to happen in the last episode, and so it takes off right off of that episode. It's hilarious because what happens is in the premiere they finish the story arc of season one, so it's almost like the epilogue of season one, really. The
Oh,
premiere of
that's
season
cool.
two, they kind of wrap everything up, tie up all the loose ends, and then they just immediately set course for an entirely new plot. Which I'm sure you seen the posters. I mean, do you know who the main baddie in this one is?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, he's like literally in all the posters, so it's like expected.
Yeah.
It's it's not a surprise. It's Deathstroke, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's Titans.
I got into the show. Like I heard about it, I was like, oh, Titans, but I didn't like physically seek it out until I saw all these spoilers popping up on the internet. I was like, oh shit, maybe I should watch this show. So I have my theories of I don't know if like I heard about the last episode of the first season, but I think I know what happens and what kind of leads to Deathstroke coming. So I think I know what I'm in for. It's just on my backlog, and I I want to ask: is season two like season one, just like dialed up to like fucking 11?
Yeah, I think I would say that. I would stand here and I would say season two is better than season one.
Nice, wow,
And
man.
I think a part of that is because like every show, they need a little time to develop the characters, and that's kind of what they did in the first
Of
season.
course.
And so, because that's already been done, now we could just kind of jump into, all right, these are who they are. We know that already. No bullshitting around. Let's go and let's just kick some ass and develop the characters further, but in a really exciting manner. Um,
Yes. To put it
so
in comparison, I think the Orville is doing a similar thing with their season two. Because now, like, shit is hitting the fan. It's like each episode something major happens, and like Orville
yes,
season two, my god.
yeah, I mean that's another example of a great show that just builds upon its predecessor, which is really important because you get some shows where like the first season is kind of like the best season, and that's kind of a little
Yeah,
disappointing.
Daredevil.
Um, yeah, right. That's a really good, solid example of that. I still love the second season Daredevil, but it
I
just
like second season just because of Punisher. Yeah, totally.
but then, like, even with the Daredevil, like, it kind of like okay, it progressed and progressed and progressed to the point where they did the Defenders, I think it was, and that just really turned me off. And like, I just feel like it was a wasted opportunity. It was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah. I felt like they should have condensed it into just a movie of the Defenders, took out all the fluff work, and I think if condensed, I think that would have worked a little better.
And so, going back to Titans, I agree with that point. By the way, um, I think that this could not have been a movie. Like, it has to be a TV show for it to be done right, because then
Awesome.
it
Awesome.
would be too messy, I think, and you wouldn't get the character development that you need. Um, One thing I like about the second season of Titans is I feel like the producers and the creative artists kind of have a confidence, self confidence to be able to say, you know what, we heard you fans. You don't like Starfire's hair being all poofy and like non comic booky, but and they
Oh,
do
they do
something
have new looks, don't they?
completely new looks. And you know what? I'm torn. I'll be frank. I'm torn because I loved the character design and costume
Yeah,
design of the first
it
season.
grows on you.
It does. It really does. And I think, and I don't want to get too, let's see, what's the word, politically correct here, but I think there is something to say about
Well,
why certain fans did not
yeah,
appreciate
there was
certain
totally a
characters.
backlash,
And
and
that
it's
kind of pissed me off a little bit in
oh
the sense,
yeah, no, it totally should. It's just kind of ridiculous. So that's where we're at right now. But
right.
if you do give it a shot, it makes total sense. Her story makes total sense, and yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous.
It's some people just don't like it because they don't look the way that the comic book depicts them, and that's their excuse for being racially biased, and I think that's unfair. Um, and so that's why I think in this season, although they look different, I don't think they did it because they were like, "Oh, fans, we heard you didn't like Starfire looking like this. We're gonna make her look like this." Even though they did make her look different, I think that had nothing to do with the backlash. I think that the writers and the designers just felt very confident in their abilities to take these characters in new directions.
Yeah, I agree. So it's happening like naturally, and they're coming into their own.
Yes,
The
exactly.
one gripe I did have with Starfire was just mostly the costume when I saw the like the first images. But then if you get into the story, it really makes sense. So, and then I'm glad that other characters are developing naturally. However, a contrast to this would be I think Iron Fist season 1 on Netflix. I think Iron Fist they should have put him in the costume like as soon as possible, and that might have made him a little less lame to fans or something. I don't know.
That makes sense. Actually, all right. Let me ask this question. Do you recall what episode you're on in season 1 of Titans?
Somewhere in the middle. We just finished up some Hawk and Dove stuff, and I forget what
Oh,
was
okay, you're
after that.
kind of early on. Well,
Yeah,
so how do I put this? All right, there's a in season 2, Dick Grayson in particular is not in costume almost the entirety of the time.
dope.
Actually, like the entirety of the time so far. And there's a reason for
Yes,
that. That's in season 1. Something
of
happens,
course.
and so I like that. Like I was one of those few people who, in I think it was the second season of Daredevil, where he didn't wear the costume pretty much the entire season. Like I think that's fine because Daredevil, you know, is the actual man behind the
Yeah,
mask.
yeah.
Robin
You have
is the
to.
man behind the mask.
It has to make sense, and with Dick, it definitely does, and with Matt Murdock, it definitely does. Daredevil, the costume, is not something he wanted to do, but he felt necessary to do for certain situations. And Dick's going through kind of similar things, but definitely different because he wants to be his own thing too.
Yes, his own person. And so because of that, like I still love like he still beats the shit out of people. Like he's
Yeah,
such a like he's Robin, but like he doesn't need the stupid mask and cape
yeah. There's got to be a
to be
different
that.
way to do this than what Wayne is doing.
Right. And oh my god, you said it. So yes, if you look at the episode, God, the episode names give away a lot. Um
Yeah, yeah,
so episode title, and this is not really a spoiler because it's an episode name. You can't really derive too much from it, if I may. Um, for episode 7, if you want to give it a shot, go ahead and you tell me what you think the name of that episode is, based on what we were just talking about.
Episode 7 is this season 1,
Season 2, season 2.
season 2, episode 7.
The title of the episode, what would you think it is, based on what we were just talking about?
So is this the finale, the last episode?
No, no, it's not. It's not. It's like the middle.
Oh, okay. Got to be Nightwing then, huh?
No,
Damn.
it's close. It's actually Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay.
So it's they give you like I think what I was talking about when we first did the Titans podcast is something to the effect of this show really doesn't care about holding its purse and clutching its purse and really holding it tight to the chest and then giving you the big
Right,
reveal at the end. They don't give a
right.
shit. They give it to you all at once. Like they say, "Hey, you want to see this? Here you go." From the first episode, it's like, what? Really? Like I don't have to wait 10 episodes just to see that happen. That's why I think I love Titans so much. It's just they're so blatantly in your face. It's just like we know you want to see these things happen, fans, and as a result, we're just gonna give them to you. We're not gonna tease you, which is something that, as much as I love Gotham, just because I kind of grew up with that show, I think it was the first show I really like grew like I actually grew with the seasons.
Followed, and yeah.
Followed. I think that's the word. Yeah, followed. as it was coming out, and it also meant something to me because I think it was one of the first shows that like started coming out when like I first became independent, moved out of my parents' house, et cetera, so like that kind of was
This
special
is
to me.
Tony's show.
Yeah, that's right.
Tony control the TV now.
That's right. That is so right. And so like because of that, like that show was special. But that I'm not gonna deny the fact that had so many weaknesses in that show. It was the
Oh
cheesiest damn
yeah, it has
show.
its own thing. Yeah, totally.
So cheesy. It is a CW. I think CW. I don't know. It was like a public,
Yeah, CW.
cable. And so because of that, it was just dragged on. Love interest that didn't go anywhere and just wasted time some episodes. But you know what? That I think is something that potentially DC learned from and didn't
Yes,
do in Titans. And like, you know what? We're not
yes.
gonna like drag you around. We're gonna treat you like
More,
with the
I totally agree with that, but I totally think Gotham was it had its great moments.
yes.
More so though, I think what the DC Universe shows said we're not going to do this is when they were taking an example of the cinematic universe. I think, hey, we need to give them what they want as fast as we can, and I think that's more or less the comparison they made, not so much with Gotham.
And to build on that, there's an additional lessons learned from the DC films as opposed to the DC TV shows live
Oh yeah,
action,
sure.
which is so it's okay to be goofy, right? Marvel does it all the time, and it works as long as you balance it out. The reality with the goofiness, it can work. Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example. That's a funny movie, but it's also serious, and it has tone development throughout the movie where it's balanced. Um, I feel like Batman versus Superman and
Oh,
to
super serious.
they're super serious, very gritty. I think they were going for the Nolan type of atmosphere and failed miserably. Um, but the TV show Titans actually, especially season two, there's some stupid, and in a good way, stupid like scenes that you're like, wow, that's just silly. That's straight out of the comic book. They really are not making any like effort to like wrap this up in the
Nice.
shroud of like
Nice.
grittiness, and that it works. Like
Totally.
so. Anyway, gone on long enough. That's my spiel. If you haven't completed season one, by all means do so and get your ass on season two because it's just you're missing out.
Orville first, finishing that up. I'm nearly done with Orville. Then yes, definitely I'm going to catch up on my Titans. Before we move on to my Virgin years, I just want to say that there is still a rumor. I think even what's his name, whoever played Aquaman, on his Twitter,
Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Thank you, sir.
That
He actually
that
posted that.
picture of him stabbing.
Yeah, so there's apparently the sole Snyder cut theory of the movie being out there. It still might come to fruition, but again, when we're dissecting this and we're saying, oh, this was some of these movies were taking themselves too seriously. A majority of those movies, well, I'm just gonna say it, all of those movies were because of fucking Snyder. And so Man of Steel, definitely super serious. Batman v Superman, definitely super serious. So do we really want to watch a Snyder cut of Justice League? And I don't know how much better that would be. I think what they got in the end result was probably the best they could have done. So yeah, do we
You know
really
what?
Snyder?
I will be on the other side of the aisle on this, Peter. I do want to see it, and the
Yeah.
reason is I feel like the film was unbalanced, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
what I mean by that is like it was almost two different movies, and there's
It's
a
a
reason
it's a
for that.
Frankenstein monster.
Exactly. I mean, by not by design, but we all know that what happened. He left the movie in the middle of the writing or production, whatever, and they got somebody else on board and
Yeah, Josh
kind of
Whedon.
tried to kind of like keep it going, but it just feels so different,
Oh
diametrically
yeah.
opposed and contradictory to itself that because of that, I would like to see a whole piece consistent
Actually
throughout the
with the
movie.
same sort of tone and
Direct,
thing.
same tone and
Totally.
direction. Yeah, maybe it will be more gritty. Maybe it will be more dark, but it's not gonna have that like occasional like uncomfortable joke
Joke,
that just
yes.
doesn't make sense.
I feel like
And
they should have just tossed Josh Whedon a shitload of more money and then just had them reshoot and done a whole different movie, because then that would probably had a better result. What I find hilarious is that they're using Josh Whedon, they're using James Gunn for Suicide Squad 2. They're like very blatant of like, hey, let's get these Marvel guys.
yeah, that's true. And actually, I was on the DC cinematic subreddit this morning, actually, so it's kind of ironic that you bring it up. And there's a public service announcement about the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and basically
Oh, cool.
they're just saying that like the mods in this subreddit like take it with a grain of salt, but they are super self confident in that there is this film and it's 100% cut, and they even like talk about the fact that like it has the score, it's been shot, it's been edited, it's a whole film. It exists already, and it would be as simple as Warner Brothers just to give a thumbs up of approval to release it. And it's funny because you do see Jason Momoa, you do see other actors kind of releasing tidbits of it, and they're all kind of moving in the direction where they're pushing to get it out, and that makes me
That's
curious.
interesting.
Makes me curious because it's like
I wonder
why,
if
you
they
know?
feel like that was a better way to go too, because I wonder how much the actors. Well, they definitely acted in it, so they knew what like the different scenes were. So I wonder if they're like they know that hey, that was probably the better route to go. That's why Momoa teased that image.
And that's exactly why I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt, I think, to just release it. Just it wouldn't hurt. I
Yeah,
don't
give
know.
it renewed interest. I don't think you
And
get
the
Ben Affleck back, but you might get some fans back.
well, to kind of cap the conversation, I think on the 17th, I think or 16th is the 2 year anniversary. I think so. That's why
Oh,
there's been a lot of discussion recently, and
so if
there's
there's
actually
a time to announce something, it would be coming up.
you heard it here first. There's a possibility that they might come out sometime this month, at least announcement. Um,
Sweet.
and on top of that, there's rumblings, and again, take it with a grain of salt. Internet is not entirely truthful, but that there are discussions, active discussions, ongoing today, between Warner Brothers and God, where's the other company? I think I don't remember the name of the company, but some big company where like the people that control this and would make this a possibility are talking.
That's awesome.
Um, Oh, and one last thing before I forget, as a throwback to our previous podcast, everybody, for those of you who didn't have an opportunity to see Joker in theaters, there
Yes.
actually is, weirdly enough, I don't know how this isn't like huge news, but the full high definition video, official, not a pirate, is actually available already in on a certain South Korean, not South Korean, yeah, South Korean website. So
Wow.
you could buy it for I think it was whatever their currency is. It translates to $15, and they give you free 3 minutes of it so that you know that it's legit.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's like the digital version is totally available if you guys want to buy it. It does have the Korean subtitles, but I mean it's in English, so.
That's dope. I wonder. Yeah, they must be making bank off of that too. So it must be just a way of getting it out there as well. I will also say again, if you did the first time you saw it was in a digital screening, try to find a theater. I just kind of lucked upon it that my theater was actually just film. So try to watch Joker in film. I think it adds a lot more to the experience as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Cool. All right. I guess Joker leads into our sort of my spooky virgin years that I'm going to talk about right now. So for a long time, and actually we've tried several times. Actually, I am, I guess, a role playing game enthusiast. When I say role playing game, I don't mean video games. Rather, I mean like Dungeons and Dragons type thing. And I've been really trying to get into some stuff recently. Me and Tony have had several campaigns testing out the waters. We've had Dungeons and Dragons, which I still have stories for that. We've done a Star Wars one, which really breaks my heart. I don't know why we kind of fell ill to that one if we didn't get caught up to that one. But if do you remember our Star Wars campaign, Mister
Yeah,
Tony?
I do.
Okay, so I just want to, because I had files to that I had to like delete or um yeah, just to make room for stuff. But the story of that one went so Tony's character was going to be sort of force sensitive in the wake of sort of Kylo Ren's re- destruction of Luke's Jedi temple and all his students and everything like that. So that just happened unbeknownst to the galaxy. It's kind of the whole trying to figure that out. You guys didn't even run into Kylo Ren, but you would have. So Tony was going to actually become sort of a Jedi, his character rather, and so you're partner up with our other friend who was a bounty hunter. Now the bounty hunter had ties to Kylo Ren, and this is actually really cool. I think I might do this for a next RPG because I should text um, your characters different sort of scenarios to not let the other players know. So I like RPG games where the characters or players have secrets from one another. So the friend who was the bounty hunter actually had ties to Kylo Ren, was sending the bounty hunter to find a specific lightsaber. Um, but however, the lightsaber that the bounty hunter found was purple, if you remember correctly, Mr. Tony.
Yes, yes.
So, um, and it wasn't known to him. He didn't know he was working for Kylo Ren at the time. It was like garbled messages of a shadowy figure, and eventually you guys were going to run into him. But so the lightsaber was not what he was looking for. He was, of course, looking for Anakin's lightsaber. But instead, the bounty hunter found Mace Windu's. So I was going to have you guys encounter Mace Windu, and he was going to be a mentor to you, Mr. Tony, sir.
Dang, would have been so cool.
Yeah, and instead of he was going to do, which is funny because I had this story planned out before the Last Jedi even came out, and he was going to be sort of a Luke Skywalker in that sense that he was also separating his ties to the Jedi, and he was going to be his own sort of Jedi. So in the lore of Star Wars, this kind of expanded universe lore, so it might not be terribly in canon, but the lore is that there's things called gray Jedi's, which are sort of in the middle between light and dark. So they kind of do some dark stuff. They keep their passions because you can't like not be passionate like what human being can, and but they draw on the light side as well. So it would have been like a melding of both worlds, and he was going to be a mentor to you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you guys were going to go to Coruscant, and I was taking some of the ideas from that Star Wars game that never came out. Was Coruscant. It had a number, it was like 2020 or something like that, which is just a level of Coruscant deep in the underground where you will be battling other like bounty hunters and learning Jedi ways. Till eventually you decided to probably take on or face Kylo Ren and mess this shit up too.
Man, well, it sounds like you really built a lot of work, and yeah, that's something that kind of like it's a
it,
bummer. I don't quite understand what happened, but I mean, it's just one of those things where he's
I
just
got
kind
a
of.
theory. Mostly it's time and just time and getting together really is hard to. With people with competing schedules, it's hard to get everyone together to RPG.
Hmm.
So those were our sort of aspirations in the RPG world. But I find another way so we can get back into it. Me and Tony are me specifically recently. I've been into a lot of horror stuff. I don't know why. Just this year is like I love everything horror. I was all about this Halloween watching slasher films. Tony has always been into horror. So there's actually a horror survival RPG game called Chronicles of Darkness.
Hmm.
Yes.
Is it
So
so? Is it well? What platform? I guess would be the question. Just board game or something?
when I say RPG game, this is not technically a board game per se. There's source books out and rule books out. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons. You'll call this
Okay.
a tabletop RPG game, if anything, because usually you gather around a table The storyteller walks you through the session, and then you go through the story. And sometimes you have like minifigures or just basically a lot of dice rolling.
Okay, but like literally, like where? Like, is it digital? Like, you just
It's
like some.
just basically it lives in your imagination and it's in books.
Okay, but like, how do people play? I guess.
Exactly. So that's the thing about role playing games. Pretty much, it's just word
Do-
talking it through, storytelling. I would be the storyteller in Chronicles of Darkness, and walk you through the
So,
game, throw you into situations. What the books do is they have stories in them already that I just put your characters in, and it also gives me ideas of what if certain actions you decide to make, what the storyline will be from there on.
okay, so it sounds like it's something where you could play wherever you are, like whether it's apart
Yes.
from each other or in physically in person.
Yes. The only thing I need to physically see is dice rolls, which we've used several things to do
That
that
software,
before.
yeah,
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 we used
okay,
that tabletop game on Steam lots of times before, but there's even
okay,
easier
yeah, yeah,
ways to do that as well. So
okay.
Chronicles of Darkness is pretty much it's called a survival horror dice pool role playing game, and with dice pool that means you're using multiple dice, and you add on or subtract dices based on like your skill in a certain area, and then you just toss the dice, and the outcome of the dice pertains to if your action is succeeded or failed in the story. And so this is different between Dungeons and Dragons, where in Dungeons and Dragons you use combat dice and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
mostly it's a D20 that sort of decides every other sort of storytelling element. So this one's really good because it's not so much fighty. There's definitely some fighty, but with Chronicles of Darkness, you're going to be facing the supernatural. You're going to be facing monsters. You're going to be facing things that you can't really take on unless your character is also like a vampire or something like that. Which
All
I
right.
think with our preferences, I don't know about you, Sir Tony. Well, yeah, let me get your preference. Would you rather be a mortal taking on things or sort of a supernatural character taking on things? Because when I watch movies, especially like slashers or like other horror movies, I would always put myself inside the character and be like, what would I do that in that situation? And this game pretty much is that experience. Like, what would you do in that situation?
I guess to be able to make my decision, I would have to understand if there's an inherent weakness or strength to either of those choices, and whether and well,
Mostly
the
it's
answer.
based on. No,
Go ahead.
go ahead, actually.
Well, I was gonna say, well, I mean, the obvious answer is yes, but to expand on that, it's like, well, would it be almost impossible to play it as a mortal, for example?
That's a very good question, and a lot of people. So this sort of role-playing game started out mostly with like vampires and werewolves, and people pretending to be vampires and werewolves. That's kind of a little bleh for me. That's kind of a basic. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want a little more substance. So it's more interesting to have a mortal character, but that doesn't mean it's completely impossible. And as a storyteller, you more or less want the players to live and try to get through the story and have a good time rather than dying. But that doesn't mean there's not stakes or even high stakes.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I lean towards mortal just because it sounds a little more challenging and realistic. Not to say I wouldn't love being, like a vampire sounds cool, but I think I would just have to like. I think I would have to just my guts tell me to be immortal.
Awesome. So I think what we do is, if we do get into it, I think what we do is we start out with some mortal stories, and then later down the road, maybe once our guys really liking it, we'll do some crazy supernatural stuff where you can make a supernatural character.
So let me ask you again, and everybody listening must think I'm the dumbest person in the world because I'm asking so many basic questions about RPGs.
No, this is great because I think a lot of people have the same question.
So I feel like even though I did play with you previously with the Star Wars one, I didn't, and maybe I just didn't ask the right question, or maybe you did tell me, but I forgot. It's been a long time. How long is a typical story? And for lack of a better word, can we equate story to a campaign?
All right. Yes, exactly. Perfectly thought. So when with the Star Wars one, the whole spiel I just gave was the whole campaign, and each sort of session was a story. This is very similar to Chronicles of Darkness, where there's one independent story that will be your first story that I'll take you through, but then I'm going to get you into another story, which is a whole linked to a whole campaign of Chronicles of Darkness, which is connected within these rule and source books that have beautiful stories and campaigns laid out. And reading them just to getting the source, it's like sort of reading scary stories to tell in the dark and that sort of thing when you're reading them just to get the information.
That's cool. And so, you said it starts off with like one independent story, but
Yeah, I
then
have one
what
in mind. So yeah, I have one in mind just to get you to the feel of it. Um, so in Chronicles of Darkness, what they call chronicles are the campaigns, and within the
yeah.
chronicles are the stories that. So one chronicle is a group of stories that are all linked together.
Okay. Okay. And so each story, I'm assuming, is like a couple hours just playing.
Each story it varies. Each story I would say are like 1 to 2 or 3 play sessions, which is probably like, and then the play session we can even cap it off at like 30 minutes or like an hour. Um,
Oh, okay. That's very
each story is
reasonable.
breaked up into scenes, and those scenes are like those are pretty much the play sessions.
Now, the second question I have, and maybe others do too, is how many carry players do you need to be able to
Okay, you
actually
can
have a
have as a range of like one person to a group of
not
like four
counting
or
the
five,
storyteller?
not counting the storyteller. You can even do more than that. It's just up to the storyteller to be able to weave everyone together. Probably the more the better. But actually, I have created a character for me to work as an NPC because we've asked, of course, cousin Edgar, who was on our previous podcast. I've asked him if he would be interested in, and he said yes. But say if
Oh,
we
good.
do have a play session and Edgar can't make it, I do have a character that I created that is going to go very well into your story, and you'll be able to. I'll control him, but you'll be able to help you out, so you're not alone.
Okay.
So getting into characters, actually, I already created a character for you, Mr. Tony, and I actually created one for cousin Edgar as well. Pretty much, because I was going off of the theme I had of what would we do if we were in a horror story. So by that regards, I just took the best sort of qualities you have as a person already, dialed that up to 11. So pretty much this character I made is a Super Tony. Super
Sweet.
Tony, I gave him some Batman-y skills. He's pretty good at investigation, just because he's like into that sort of thing, watching cop shows and reading Batman, of course. He's also just like yourself. He's very political and outspoken, very kind. Um, he has. I'll show you the character sheet because I can't remember all the skills he has, but he has some pretty sweet skills, especially with I kept pretty much your profession, although I kind of stretched it because we'll make it a little fantastical. So you
Yes.
do have computer science sort of background, so you're very good at computers and science. But I also align that with crafting as well. And when I say crafting, it's not like arts and crafts, rather it's more crafting like kind of like Minecraft, where
Yeah.
you're able to see how things work mechanically, which will be pretty interesting for you to use. And you probably will be able to craft things, um, whether it is like makeshift weapons real fast or something
That's awesome.
for
That's
your
really cool.
character to use.
So, one quick
Oh,
question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you go first. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and every time I hear about the storyteller, and I have to ask myself, like, is the stupid question: is the storyteller having fun? Because they're not
I'm having fun
participants.
already. I haven't even started yet.
Wow. Okay, great. Good, good. Because that's just the last thing I want is for this to be like really exciting for me and anybody else, and just yours in the background. Just okay, guys. Now I gotta roll the die. I want you to participate and have fun too.
I think all other sort of DMs and storytellers will chime in, but yeah, I think they all have sort of fun putting together, and that's why like I get heartbroken about the Star Wars stuff because I had really had fun putting
Yeah.
it together, and I would love to see you guys walk through that, but we never got to that. Um, Same with this. I have a good story for you already, a background about your character, and it fits in with the character, the NPC I have as well. Um, but to add to that, and to add to something a little fun for this podcast, so this will be our pre RPG, and hopefully this gives you a taste of what you will expect if you want to get into playing. I'm going to ask you questions, and this is about Super Tony's character. Well,
Sweet.
it's basically you, so you can play as basically yourself. I'm going to ask you situations,
Okay.
and what I'm doing here is to determine sort of the boundaries of your character. Like, what are his breaking points? What if he saw something crazy? How would he react? How would he feel? So
Yeah.
that's like the X factor that I don't know yet because I haven't experienced your character come to life yet. So, in that regards, I have some questions for you, situations to put you in, and I want you to answer honestly as you can. This can be your character, or you just pretty much yourself.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. Say you're walking down a street. We can just use San Diego as an example. Walking down downtown San Diego. It's always usually pretty fucking busy. Um, you hear a woman on the opposite sidewalk across the street from you saying, I mean, there's a crosswalk, of course, in between you two. You hear her say, "Oh, my baby," and there's a stroller. Somehow it got away from her. Who knows? And it's coming into the street. You're walking.
Oh.
You weren't even going to use the crosswalk. You were going to go the other way and continue parallel to her. Um, the light had just turned green. There's a car coming.
Oh
You don't know
shit.
if you have enough time to push the stroller out of the way. You just know you have enough time to reach it.
Oh my
So
god.
what do you do?
Oh man. Well, I mean, like, first of all, I'm not gonna incriminate myself in front of like all of our listeners and just be like, I'm.
Well,
But,
I'll
but
restate. This is fictional, Tony. This is not actually happening.
there we go. There we go.
And
So
also, this is Super Tony. So your best self. What would your best self do?
clearly, I would go for the baby stroller. Even normal Tony would do that just because I can't not do that, man. Like I couldn't live with myself, honestly.
Perfect. So this is when some dice rolling might come into effect. That's dependent on the storyteller. But you made
Yeah.
it. You're there with the stroller. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, a car's coming out you towards you, but you're just going to be there. Maybe you even pick up the baby and hold it in your arms using your body as its own shield. But a car comes and it veers, and you see it crash into the next building. You're
Damn it.
safe. Everything's safe. You hear the woman who's the mother probably saying, "Oh my god." You go, the baby's fine. The mother comes. You go to investigate the crash. The crash is actually fatal. Has to be.
Ah.
You see blood, and you notice that there's an elderly woman who was driving.
Oh. Damn, I messed up.
How
Should have
would
let
you
the baby
feel?
die.
Should have let the
Right.
baby die. So you feel some sort of guilt, yes?
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. Even the situation itself wasn't your character's fault, there's still some guilt there.
Yeah, I mean, like, because of the actions I took, whether they're merited or not, something negative happened to somebody innocent.
Perfect. And that goes along with what kind of I have you written up as for your character, right? So that's great. So I kind of know a little bit more, a little bit of a boundary. Now we're gonna go a little more spooky, I guess.
And the
So you're
old lady
laying.
got up and was a
Oh
vampire
no
and
no
took
no!
the.
We're changing situations. So hopefully that one ended. So saying you're laying, let's take it like a hotel or like a cabin. Sometimes your character is somewhere where he normally wouldn't be, but maybe he's like on vacation or some shit. And you know how sometimes you wake up in a place that's not your own, you get kind of a little that sort of jolt of like, oh shit, where the fuck am I? And you gotta like recollect, like, oh yeah, I'm on vacation, stupid.
Yeah, right, right.
So you're laying somewhere. We'll call it a hotel room. You wake up suddenly. You don't know why. You're like not even. You're definitely jolted, but you're not like afraid. Um, and there's you see like a dot. It could be the dot of maybe the TV that's off in front of you, and you're just laying there like, oh shit, I wish I could go back to sleep. And like the dot's there. And I was like, for some reason you're fixated on that dot. I was like, what's up with this dot? Why you don't know why you're like not looking anywhere else. It's just you're up and like, oh god, I gotta get back to sleep. Um, for some reason, you don't know if the dot's splitting into two, or it looks as if something has turned its like head, because now there's two dots. Okay, that's weird. Two dots, and all of a sudden, a sort of Cheshire Cat smile ignites
Whoa,
underneath it. How do you feel? What do you do?
that's weird. I say, and then if I'm in bed, I would hope there's a lamp next to me so I could just quickly switch it on and see like, is it there still?
Perfect. It's on. It's still there.
Oh shit. That's not good.
Instead, what happens? You go to turn on the light, it doesn't turn on.
Even worse. Okay. I'm sorry. Is this okay if I say I reach for my phone and I try and turn on the light from my phone?
All right, you turn your light on your phone. I'm gonna
Doesn't
say
come
you're
on.
successful at this, and you pointed at it. But then it's there. You relax a bit. Oh, suddenly your phone just dies, and the face is back.
And shit, you just gave me literal goosebumps. Okay, so hotel, middle. No, I'm gonna say I'm in Yosemite, middle of nowhere. Fucking
Good.
no
I
signal.
love the detail.
Even if my phone had battery, it wouldn't really be any use. Okay, what do I do? I'm laying there. Light didn't work. Phone dead. It's there. Okay. Crap. All right, fine. This is what I do. I get up and then I go and I look for like the room light, not just the lamp light, the room light, any source of light. I get up, and I flip the switch.
All right, we'll say you're successful. Um, we say you calm me down so much that you actually are able to leave whatever light on. Say it's a flashlight, and you go back to bed. You lay with the flashlight. You go to sleep. However,
Oh man,
now
damn.
this
Okay,
time you wake up again, or you think you're awake and could be dreaming, and you still see the face.
okay, yeah. At that point, okay, that's a good attention to detail. If because you said I don't know if I'm awake or I'm asleep. Is that a true statement?
That is true. Yeah, that is true now because I would grant you that you're fighting, you're collecting yourself, you're recomposing yourself to
Okay,
when you got that flashlight, it actually relaxed you and you fell asleep. However,
okay,
you're back in the same situation.
okay. All right, that's fair. At this point, I'm still very much creeped out, but I'm self-aware of the fact that hey, this may be a dream. I might be in sleep paralysis right now, and maybe I'm half asleep, half awake. What do I do? Um, oh man. Okay, can I ask? Is there anybody in the room with me?
No, you're by
By
yourself. You don't
myself.
know if like maybe you
Ah,
came with friends on this trip, but they're maybe sleeping in another cabin, or you're
okay.
not quite
All
sure.
right. Oh, that's bad. Um. Okay, fine. I I think I'm gonna have to like, hey, what's that? Who's there? I think I'm gonna have to do
You're
something like that.
announcing it.
Yeah.
How forceful would you say your voice is?
Just like I said it right now.
Okay, perfect. The face
So,
winks, and then it
oh fuck,
disappears.
no, nope, I'm out. Okay, at that point, if I have my wits about me, and if I'm awake, God,
So
I
this
hope
would
I'm.
be in the game. It would be a die roll to see how if your character has its composure. So if the die roll is successful, you're able to like breathe and you're fine. If it's not, you're freaked out of your mind. But say it's successful and you're able to collect yourself, and yeah, sure, I'll let you do something else.
All right, kind of cool. At this point, I still don't quite know if I'm awake or I'm asleep. I think I'm leaning towards I'm awake because I get up and I try to just reach for the door, just try to get out.
Perfect. We'll say you even pinch yourself, and yeah, you feel the pain, and you reach for the door, and yeah, you open it. Situation's normal. Everything's done, and it seems just like a normal night in Yosemite. Very good.
Okay, so then I just probably go to the reception area if I can.
Awesome. So for this situation, it's over, but I love that you're continuing it because you're really compelled.
Yeah, well, I
I
mean,
wanted to get a sense of how you feel as a player, how your character would feel, and I think yeah, I'm trying to. The two things I'm gathering from these situations is sort of your two sort of breaking points, your sort of spook factor, if you will, with this one, and sort of a mortality sort of factor with the last one.
yeah, yeah, definitely not a fun time.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
really cool, man. And
So
hey,
yeah, lot of that, a lot of that. Even that's just a small taste. It would be dialed up to even more than that. And
excellent.
yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Yosemite because you're going to be somewhere wilderness for your first adventure. You're going to be joined by an NPC character that I call Bruce, and he's your good buddy. And you guys are going to be camping out somewhere. And yeah,
Good, good. I want to do this. You know, the way I
cool.
want to do this, if I could have some preconditions, would be like if we could do it like on a weekend, preferably like on a
Yeah,
Saturday. Maybe
totally.
even like what we could do is like twofold. We could be like, all right, you come over, I buy a 6 pack, and we just play for a couple hours.
Exactly.
Or
That's what I'm
or the
thinking.
opposite could be true. Like you could be, home, and I could be here. We could have somebody else remote in, and I'll also have a beer,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah,
always
we'll be able
important.
to. Yeah, we'll be able to continue the story that way. The only thing is, I need to physically see some dice rolls, and you should probably see mine when I'm acting, rolling dice for other characters and
Well,
stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Like it'd be cool to do it like in the afternoon, but if not, like I guess we could share software.
Yeah, there's actually no. That's a good point. There's actually some instances in these stories where you won't actually need any dice rolls. It's just sort of banter like we did right there, and just walking your characters through something, and then that will lead to another play session where we can get together and actually have some sort of fighty dice roll action.
Okay. Um.
Very cool. This has
Well.
actually been out for goddamn a while. The only reason I know about this is because been investigating ways for us to sort of play role playing games.
Yeah.
Um, and then like yeah, so I had this friend who actually turned me on to it, and yeah, so it's pretty awesome.
It is really cool.
Cool. All right, so that is our virgin ears. Did you want to talk about scary stories, or should we leave it at that? We've done enough
Um.
scary stories.
Yeah, we could kind of just leave that one. I will say briefly, it's a great movie. It's making it to my list of
Yeah,
Halloween movies. It's
totally.
very cool. It there's a few minute scenes of cheesiness, but that's fine. It's a kids based off of a kid's storybook, so you expect that.
Yes,
But it was
yes.
actually to be completely fair, it was a lot more mature than I thought it was
It
gonna
was a
be.
lot more disturbing than I thought it was going to be. Totally.
Very like they just went ahead and were very dark, and I appreciated that a lot because I had a pause like after the first scarecrow scene. I had to pause and be like, wait, well, what is this rated? Because I was like, this this is crazy. What's happening?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a kid movie. I want to ask you one quick question about it. Um, I know you read the book definitely. From what you've read, like it's been a while since I read it. I've been meaning to reread it. From what you read, do you know if the movie was sort of faithful to the books?
Oh, I think so. Absolutely.
Totally.
I would. Yeah, 100%, 100%. The the lady who swallows that kid was probably the most horrific thing I've seen, both
Really?
in print and in live action.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I was trying to remember that story. The first two, the scarecrow and the soup. I was like, yeah, I know what's coming, and the pimple. I was like, oh
The
man,
pimple. Yeah, the dot or whatever. Yeah, that
damn,
was
that was like a play by play.
it
I called
was.
that. And then the latter two is the Red Room and Mr. Tie Dye Man. I was like, I didn't know too much about that, but that was really disturbing still.
Yeah, the tie dye man. I think, don't quote me on this. Everybody might be an original,
Oh,
um,
really?
but his actual, I don't even know what the hell he says, but he says some sort of quote which is a throwback to an actual story. So while the tie dye,
Oh,
yeah, so that's how it's linked.
okay. Oh, okay. Good to know. I'm gonna have to rewatch and reread both things.
Definitely freaking a great movie, especially for absolutely. So glad.
All right, dope. All righty. I think that is it here. We're ending very dark. this
Yeah,
this podcast. It's past Halloween, but we like to keep the spirit of Halloween going throughout.
yeah. It doesn't matter, man. November just October extended.
Exactly. All right, that's gonna be it here from us at Geeking This. From me and Tony. Catch you guys next time.
See you later.